Have you ever noticed a hidden force dragging your love stories along the same curve, intense, full of meaning, and then suddenly hollow like a beach after the tide pulls back? It's not because you did something wrong, and it's not because they were born that way. In Jung's language, there are currents older than we are, invisible patterns of the soul quietly at work. They're not here to condemn us, they want to be seen. The moment we dare to look, everything shifts. So our opening is not about blaming or excusing anyone. It's about definition and balance, feminine and masculine, our inner music in all of us. The Great Mother both embraces and sets limits. Attention can warm, attunement nourishes. What we seek isn't a person to heal us, but a way of being present so both people can grow. Their love doesn't need fireworks to prove it's real. It needs the steady light of a tended lamp. Next up, we'll lay out a practical map why the seduction, depletion, exit cycle forms. Early signs you or they are chasing drama over intimacy. How projection and anima/animus collude, so two people choose each other unconsciously. And most importantly, 3 short daily practices to give your hunger a shape, turning a hidden pull into a nourishing force. If your heart is tired of waves, stay. The deep can be scary, but when you learn to swim with it, you won't fear the changing tide. You'll become the captain of the voyage, not a passenger of the surf. Let's start with a freeing truth in Jungian psychology. Feminine doesn't mean women and masculine doesn't mean men. There are 2 psychic principles in every person. Eros is our capacity to bond, feel, and nourish. Logos is our capacity to discern, orient, and order. When Eros and Logos move in step, we find harmony. When one is pushed into the dark, we meet chaos. And that darkness, the shadow, isn't bad. It's everything we're not yet ready to admit is ours: the craving to be seen, the need to be cherished, the fear of abandonment, even the pride that longs to be honored. The better we hide these, the more they steer us from below the surface. In Jung's tradition, the great archetype we call the Great Mother is double-edged. She is womb, nurture, and tomb limit. When we forget this doubleness, the mirror of life warps, we deify caretaking and despise boundaries, or we worship freedom and fear intimacy. Modern love, from dating apps to the sudden cooling off, often reenacts the ancient dance between the mother who feeds and the mother who devours. This isn't about blaming women or men. It's about recognizing an archetype that longs to be integrated. If you're a young American living inside a city that optimizes everything, speed, output, even feelings, you'll recognize a very American. Hunger for meaning, for mattering, for one true touch in an endless scroll. Hungry, we mistake attention for attunement and the intensity of feeling for the depth of bonding. Then as novelty fades and dopamine quiets, we panic. What did I do wrong? Jung would ask a different question. Which part of you or them was left in the dark and had to borrow light from outside? Pause and name your inner cast the Jungian way. The persona is the mask we show the world. I'm fine, I'm interesting, I'm chosen. The shadow is what the mask pushes underwater: anger at being minimized, the need to be prioritized, the right to ask for pleasure and respect. Anima/animus, the inner feminine in men, the inner masculine in women, is the bridge between Eros and Logos, so we can feel and steer. When the bridge breaks, we project. We throw our inner movie onto the other. He will redeem my loneliness. She will be the campfire that warms me forever. The other person becomes a screen for the film we refuse to watch in our own theater. Now the pattern makes sense in an age of endless options. Many relationships ignite like fireworks and end as ash. Not because anyone is hopeless, but because we used outer heat to fill an inner cold. Attention from outside can warm you like a fireplace, but it can't replace the blood your own heart must pump. When the outside fire dies, the inside chill returns colder, now wrapped in shame. Was it all just a phase? If we haven't learned to sit in the quiet of stability, where there are no fireworks, we'll chase drama to escape meeting ourselves. Peace is mistaken for boredom, closeness for captivity. There is another path. Jung called it individuation, becoming wholly yourself. Not killing the hunger is a signal, but giving it shape and meaning. We learn to tell attention, eyes on me, from attunement, with me, intensity, overwhelming from intimacy, deepening. Gradually the self, the inner coordinating center, conducts Eros and Logos, the nurturing and limiting, mother, desire, and discipline. Hunger turns into taste. You know what you truly need, you say no as a form of love, and yes, as a bounded commitment. How do we get there with simple, courageous practices? Active imagination. Sit with the figure from your dream or your mood and ask, what are you here to teach me? It isn't woo, it's dialogue with a psychological energy seeking a voice. Journaling pulls the vague from the water to the shore. If I weren't afraid of being left today, I would. Somatic work breath and sensation widens your window of tolerance so your body no longer needs drama to feel alive. And boundaries honor both mothers at once I receive and I keep myself. If you've been the rescuer giving until empty and still feeling not enough, hear me, you are not the problem. You have a rare opportunity to reclaim projection. Ask which part of the story is your lesson. Fear of silence, a fear of being seen, an addiction to newness. When we own our part, we step off the chessboard of repeating fate. As Jung wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. It's not a curse, it's a calling. Dear friend, let's step into the body of our work, open the first door, and walk straight into the core psychological mechanism where modern love stories meet the soul's ancient patterns. Picture your inner life as a night sea. There's a bright shoreline of what you accept in yourself, and there are deeper waters where the unacknowledged still moves, breathes, and waits to be named. In Jung's lens, we don't blame. We learn to see and name the forces that make us love. Pull away and then seek again, like tide following tide. A common confusion to clear sensitivity to a room isn't the same as trauma-shaped hypervigilance. If your heart races, shoulders brace, breath turns shallow, and your mind scripts worst-case scenarios in crowds, that's the defensive system at work. If you're steady breathing, deep, body soft, and clearly aware awake without strain, that's closer to coherence. This distinction isn't for judging. It helps you choose the right care, sometimes a professional therapist, sometimes a patch of woods, a page of writing, or real sleep. This week, did you react from fear or respond from quiet clarity? What practice helps body-mind stand in truth without raising your voice? Rhythm, not ritual. Each evening, split a notebook page. What did I show today and what did I hide today? 3 lines each, no praise or blame. Wednesday morning before email. 5 minutes of active imagination, invite a dream. Image, a deer, a room, a child. Ask, what did you come to say? Write it verbatim. Honor it with one small act, call. The friend you've avoided, decline the task you don't want. Sip water and take 3 slow breaths. Before the noon meeting, hands on a wall, press fully for 4 breaths, release for 6, a somatic doorway from tension to presence. Sunday night, sketch a simple round mandala, not for beauty, but to witness how light and shadow divided your week. Which one will you try first, the journal line, the dream minute, or the wall press? One more balance point to prevent misunderstanding: when we speak of devouring mother, or the hunger, we're pointing to a field of psychic energy, not labeling any gender or group. Men can operate from the same hunger. Women can embody luminous support. Jung's aim isn't to name villains, it's integration, so you become someone who can both nurture and set limits, both love and self-guard, both stop and continue. Which pole is asking for your attention tonight, holding or boundary? If this touched you, join our community of busy American hearts reclaiming the soul's slower rhythm. Comment with 3 words, I choose integration. Share one small practice you'll try tonight, an active imagination question, a soft boundary for yourself, or a breathing cadence before you answer a message. Writing it down moves you from unconscious to conscious, and when we do it together, the road widens, ready for the next chapter. We'll map the very common cycle of allure, depletion, distance not to condemn, but to spot early signals at each phase, to tell intensity from intimacy, to reclaim projections, and to pivot from flash to lamp. We'll learn to watch the wave at the horizon and turn the bow instead of being swept away, choosing with awareness how to love and how to keep yourself. That's when your story gathers form, rhythm, and sovereignty. Which setting should we open first, workplace, romance, or family? First, a shared language, simple, liberating. Feminine and masculine in Jung are not gender. They are 2 psychic principles in every human. Eros connects, attunes, sustains life. Logos differentiates, orients, and orders. When Eros and Logos hold hands, the heart has a place to rest and the mind has a way to love. When one is pushed under, the other becomes a blade or a flood. Persona is the mask we wear to move through the world. I'm fine, interesting, dependable. Shadow is what the persona shoves off frame, needs anger, desire, the fear of abandonment, even the radiance we're afraid to show. Archetypes are ancient living forms that run through us. Mother, lover, warrior, king, son, queen. Self is the harmonizing center, not the ego, but the force that wants to make you become who you really are. The real question in any problem isn't who's right, but what's being pushed into shadow and asking to be integrated. At the first door, we meet the Great Mother, a double-sided archetype. She is both womb, nurture, nourish, embrace, and tomb limits, structure, endings. If we worship only one side, say unconditional holding and fear-setting boundaries, we get swept into caretaking until we're secretly resentful. If we worship the other cold structure, our heart dries out. The devouring mother shows up when we refuse to let the conscious Great Mother say enough for now. When a boundary becomes love with a shoreline, the Great Mother turns back into a womb, not a grave. Key one, learn to see both nurture and limit in yourself before judging any relationship. Now a very ordinary scene to hold on to. Alex, 32, a creative in the US, meets Jamie at a book launch. Sparks fly, late-night messages, inspired talks, attention pouring down like summer rain. Alex thinks, at last I'm seen. Jamie thinks, at last someone understands. But something else is happening. Projection. Alex places on Jamie the image of perfect attunement, an idealized reflection of Alex's own eros that has never been fully welcomed. Jamie places on Alex the image of rescuer of loneliness, a sturdy logos to brace the emotional spiral. Week 1 feels fated. Weeks later, as persona fades, shadow whispers. Alex fears quiet because quiet means hearing the inner hollow and unconsciously creates waves to feel alive. Jamie fears being swallowed, no practice boundaries with others' invisible demands, and goes cool. Neither is wrong. They are unconsciously steering each other with unnamed parts. From a Jungian view, what we don't make conscious directs our life, and we call it fate. Here, fate is the hunger to be seen, affirmed, chosen. The hunger isn't bad, it's a signal. Trouble starts when we confuse attention with attunement. Attention flashes like a camera, bright, brief, overwhelming. Attunement is a steady flame, warm with time in it. Many of us with a narrow tolerance for quiet get hooked on flash and fear the steady fire, mistaking intensity for intimacy, fireworks for presence. Does any part of that feel familiar in your story? This leads to anima animus. Whatever your gender you carry, an inner eros anima, the inner feminine, and an inner logos animus, the inner masculine. When your anima is eclipsed, you harden, grow cynical, lose the softening of the heart. When your animus is fractured, you drift, lack structure, struggle to say no. At first meeting, Alex and Jamie's anima/animus hooked like two missing pieces, seeking wholeness, which made it easy to project the lost piece onto the other. While the projection holds, it feels like magic. When it falls, the real human comes into view, limits and all, and disappointment arrives. No one deceived anyone. The movie ended, and they haven't learned to sit in the dark long enough for the eyes to adjust. What does your inner animus want from you right now? Softness or structure? If you see yourself here, drop the self-judgment. Begin with a simple, brave act dialogue with the dark. Tonight, when the house is quiet, close your eyes and call up the first figure linked to your hunger. A fierce maiden, a tired mother, a queen hiding her crown. Ask 3 things. What are you protecting me from? What boundary must I learn now? If I weren't afraid of judgment, what do I truly long for? Write it without editing. Don't try to be right, try to be true. This is active imagination, a bridge between unconscious and conscious, and across that bridge stands the self, the force that gives your life an inner order and meaning. What did she say back? In parallel practice, a less romantic but essential skill, somatic widening, expand your window for calm. Before important conversations, one hand on chest, one on belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, 3 rounds. You're teaching your nervous system that stillness isn't abandonment and stability isn't boredom. When your body no longer needs fireworks, the heart can recognize the oil lamp that actually warms the house. From there, you'll better discern true red flags, disrespect, violence, manipulation from your own fear of healthy intimacy. Which breath will you choose before your next text reply? Kindness needs a boundary. You're not the world's therapist nor its savior. A small, steady sentence can close the temenos well. Thank you for trusting me. Let's pause here so you have space to take care of yourself tonight. Keep the stance of seeing, hearing, non-possessing. The rest belongs to them. And in everyday talk practice, gentle truth, I'm listening and want to get this right. I need a slower pace to find my words, it isn't distance. These one-breath lines are soft boundaries. They don't push people out. They show that your inner temple has a door and hinges. What boundary sentence could you keep ready this week? Let's go one layer deeper. In part one, we frame masculine and feminine as two inner principles in every human. We met the great mother with her two faces, warm embrace and firm boundary, and we named the bridge between eros and logos as anima/animus. Today we step into a subtle cycle. So many young Americans are quietly living a spark, an emotional feast, the sudden drop and how to transform that rhythm so you're no longer a small boat tossed by every wave. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help you see the name and to choose consciously. Inside American culture where choice overflows and the tempo runs high, remembering that intensity intimacy is countercultural and deeply Jungian. We don't have to demonize any gender to speak about patterns. A person rich in eros can learn structure without losing heart. A person strong in logos can soften without losing spine. Between them, a healthy relationship rarely looks like an action movie. It looks like a warm kitchen light, the rhythm of a knife on a cutting board, two steady breaths that make room for each other's schedule and each other's feelings. If this resonates, join our practice community, people learning to love with edges and to live with depth. Comment 3 words. I keep the lamp to mark that you're choosing attunement over attention. Name one small thing you'll try this week, a soft boundary, a breathing ritual, or one page of projection reclaiming journal. When you speak it, you drop an anchor. When we speak it together, the harbor grows safer. In the next part, I'll map the early signs of each stage in the spark, surge, drop cycle, how to tell which signals to work with and which red flags mean leave. I'll give you 3 compact tools: a sample active imagination dialogue with your shadow image, a plug-and-play boundary script for live conversations, and a 5-minute oil lamp ritual before you meet your person so you don't just understand, you can do. If you're ready to leave the fireworks shore and sail into a sky full of stars, quieter, yes, but infinitely deep, once your eyes adjust, come along. Their love stops being a game of fate and becomes the art of consciousness. It usually begins with a flash, like when Alex and Jamie lock eyes at a book launch. The feeling of we just get each other arrives so fast we mistake it for destiny. From a Jungian view, that moment is rarely random. It's the unconscious seeking a body to live in. We project our missing piece onto the other. Alex places on Jamie a listening eros Alex hasn't dared to cultivate. Jamie places on Alex a steady logos Jamie is still learning to own. Projection isn't a lie, it's a letter the soul mails to the world. The trouble starts when we believe the letter is the person instead of opening it and reading what it says about us. When the letter gets mistaken for a real biography, the next phase kicks in: hunger for attention. Texts flood, endless dates, eyes doing the talking. Neurologically, dopamine paves the road for early bonding, then naturally eases. Psychologically, complexes bundles of charged memory light up fear of abandonment, fear of being swallowed, fear of not being enough. If your attachment leans anxious, silence can feel like being left behind. If you lean avoidant, closeness can feel like a threat. What stabilizes a relationship here isn't more intensity, it's adjustment, learning to separate attention from attunement. Attention is a spotlight, fast and bright. Attunement is a hearth warm and lasting. Dare to ask, what in me is asking to be attuned to, not just looked at? But we live in a culture of novelty. Algorithms tug us from glow to glow. A soul hungry for meaning can confuse intensity with intimacy. This is where the cycle wobbles once the fireworks stop. One person, sometimes both, feels deflated. Stability gets mislabeled boring, when in truth it's the soil where intimacy first sprouts. If your body hasn't been taught that quiet can be safe, it will signal you to go find another wave. No one is to blame here. Your nervous system's window of tolerance is simply narrow. So before your next date, try a 3-minute ritual. 1 hand on chest, 1 on belly. Inhale, hold 4. Exhale, 6, 3 rounds. Then ask, am I hunting lightning or choosing a lamp tonight? An honest answer will spare you a lot of confusion. When the lamp isn't chosen, the scene change looks familiar. One person feels flooded and pulls away. The other panics and pursues. Two defenses crash like opposing tides. Underneath Anima/animus are speaking. An unwelcomed Anima chases big feelings to prove I'm alive. An unintegrated Animus tries to control the field with absolute solutions or retreats into silence. Jung's invitation here reclaimed the projection. Tonight's practice, write one-page beginning. I expected the other person to give me the feeling of, then I can learn to give myself that feeling by. No one is stealing your need to be loved. You're simply returning to yourself the right and the skill to nourish that need from within. At this stage, the great mother archetype must be seen whole. If you only embrace without ever saying enough, love becomes a dock with no edge, every ship moors there, and you end up exhausted. If you only set rules without warmth, the heart becomes a desert. The wise mother teaches boundaried love, a clear no can be the only staircase out of the pit of dependency. Try this line this week. I want to be close, and I need 30 minutes of quiet after work before we talk. Boundaries don't slam the door. They frame a doorway so the wind can enter without collapsing the roof. How do I know which phase I'm in? Think like a sailor. When things are too fast, too soon, too much projection is probably steering. When you need more and more external signals to feel worthy, you're heating yourself with someone else's fireplace instead of your own heart. When stability makes you restless, your window of tolerance may be narrow. Not that the other person is not interesting. And when the other person starts looking less perfect, that isn't necessarily disappointment. It may be your first chance to love a human being instead of an image. Two more compasses to add to the map. First transference and countertransference, those unconscious currents that make us treat a partner as if they were someone from our past, mother, father, and ex, and invite them to respond with feelings that don't belong to this moment. When Alex gets anxious every time Jamie goes quiet, perhaps silence once meant storm. When Jamie feels demanded upon, maybe that's the old memory of being expected to carry an adult's emotions. Noticing this isn't for blame, it's to ask, are we talking to each other or to each other's memories? Second compensation, the psyche's balancing act. The more we chase outward intensity, the more the soul demands inward quiet. If we don't give that quiet on purpose, the psyche will create distance by accident. Would you rather schedule a beach day or wait for the storm to make one? Talking is easy, living is hard. So here's a bridge you can walk today, a shadow contract. Write 2 lines. I usually trade my identity for the feeling of being chosen and from today, I agree to trade something else. I will tolerate the early anxiety so I can keep my honesty and my boundaries. Read it out loud. Each time you keep that promise, the self, the inner regulator, grows a little, and the old cycle loses power. You've walked with me to part 3, the most practical map, where the ideas we opened earlier turn into footprints you can actually lay down. Treat this like a private field letter, just rational enough to trust, just symbolic enough to keep your heart moving. We'll track the early signs of the boom, fade, pull away cycle, sort what can be healed from what's a red flag, and put 3 tools in your hands. You can use tonight a brief Jung-style dialogue with the unconscious, 4 boundary scripts you can speak as is, and a 5-minute oil lamp ritual that teaches your nervous system to love steadiness. And as always, when I speak of the feminine, masculine, or the great mother, here I mean psychological principles in everyone, not gender labels. Our goal isn't to point fingers, it's to integrate. And about enantiodromia, Jung's run to the opposite law. The more you push one pole, say unconditional giving, the more the psyche rebounds, cool, withdrawn. Prevention isn't clamping down, it's daily micro-balance, one small move between 2. Yeses, a short silence between emotional highs, a date night that's just a walk with no agenda. You're giving the self the inner regulator room to fine-tune before life has to slam the pendulum with a bigger event. Where could a tiny micro-balance save you from a big swing later? And here's a very American comfort in a fast world: intensity, intimacy. Intensity arrives quickly. Intimacy takes time. Intensity is fireworks. Intimacy is the kitchen lamp. Intensity impresses, intimacy nourishes. When you start choosing the lamp over the fireworks, the things that used to scare you, silence, schedules, Boundaries get lighter because you realize these are the spaces where love can breathe. Which do you reach for first, the spark or the steady flame? If this helps, step into our circle of hearts with shores. Comment the words OEO lamp if you'll try the 5-minute ritual tonight. Post one boundary sentence using the 4 scripts, or share the 3 lines you received from the Great Mother and the Gatekeeper. When you write, you don't just help yourself, you become a lamp for someone else, because here we learn together. What line will you share so others can borrow courage? Next time, we'll weave everything into a 7-day route, one tiny step a day, from withdrawing projections to symbolic dialogue to boundaries in action. We'll also return to Alex and Jamie to imagine a different ending when 2 people choose consciousness over fate. If you want to see what love looks like when Eros and Logos dance, the same tempo, stay close, the sky will darken, and that's exactly when the stars agree to show their faces. Are you ready to walk that week with me? Early signs whisper. If you listen closely, you'll hear them. The lightning phase kicks off too fast, too much too soon. All night texting, big promises before you really know each other. This is fate rush like thunder. If you catch yourself unloading your life story to someone new, Anima may be hunting for an Eros shore to be held, or Animus may be racing to build a forever structure to cover inner uncertainty, classic compensation. Pause and ask, do I love this person or the feeling of being seen? If it's the feeling, slow down. In the stabilization phase, dopamine settles. Real intimacy starts to sprout. But if your attachment history is shaky, you might confuse quiet with abandonment, rhythms with control. You'll feel restless for no reason, maybe poke the waters to test if they'll stay. Here, put a palm on your chest, lengthen your exhale, and name it out loud. I'm here and I need a 20-minute recharge. That's the Great Mother stepping out of shadow, nurturing and boundary in the same breath. What does your slow down sentence sound like? Then comes the bend. If one person feels flooded and can't set ashore, they retreat into silence. The other gets scared and starts chasing. 2 old complexes collide, transference and countertransference. You speak to each other's memories in one another's bodies. Try this very human, very Jung line. Right now, are we reacting to each other or touching an old memory? Can we take 10 minutes to come back to the present and then continue? If both can downshift, you'll hear the true tone of the conversation. If one side mocks, denies, or steamrolls every need for breath time and boundaries, that's not a place to fix. That's a red flag about respect. Where do you feel this bend in your body, throat, stomach, or back? To separate repair from release, keep a tiny checklist in your mind. Read slowly. 1. Safety is their respect for body and mind. No violence, no coercion, if no leave. 2. Readiness. Do they own their part, accept a slower tempo, try adjustments? If yes, state a pilot change. 3. Repetition is the old pattern repeating even after you have named it and both tried. If yes, consider leaving with kindness. Jung's map has no villains, only unnamed energies. But kindness to others does not mean abandoning yourself. Which box on that list lights up for you right now? Tool 1, 7-minute active imagination. A dialogue with shadow in the bridge. Tonight, sit upright, 1 hand on chest, 1 on belly, 3 rounds of 4-4-6 breathing. Close your eyes and see a stone bridge over dark water. On this side, you and your persona, the I'm fine rolls. Across the bridge, shadow escorting 2 figures. The Great Mother, 1 hand holds a warm bowl of soup, the other a little bell that says enough. In the Gatekeeper, your wise Anima, Animus image. Step onto the bridge. Ask the Great Mother, what is the lesson in holding? And what boundary? Wait for 2 short sentences, no defending. Turn to the Gatekeeper. When my heart panics, what sentence brings me back to now? Memorize the exact words you hear. After 7 minutes, and open your eyes and write 3 lines. 1, mother's holding sentence. 2, mother's boundary sentence. 3, Gatekeeper's returning sentence. Tomorrow, use those 3 lines as your compass in every conversation. That's what Jung meant by bringing the unconscious to consciousness. What did your mother and Gatekeeper say? Tool 2, 4 boundary scripts. So Eros and Logos speak with one voice. Style 1, and I want closeness, and I need 30 minutes of quiet after work. Style 2, request plus timing plus limit. Text me 10 minutes ahead if you'll be late. If not, let's move to tomorrow. Style 3, conditional. Yes, I can listen for 15 minutes tonight as long as we don't text after 10 p.m. Style 4. No plus option. No. I'm not going out tonight. I'm free tomorrow from 9 to 11. Practice these in the mirror so your face and voice learn them. Boundaries aren't cold when your tone carries warmth. Each time you speak one, the great mother in you shifts from tomb to womb. Love gets born inside real shores. Which script will you try first? Tool 3, the 5-minute oil lamp ritual. Before any important date or dialogue, minute 1, breathe 4, 4, 6 and ask, today, am I choosing the lamp or the lightning? Minute 2, touch a small anchor ring key and whisper your gatekeeper sentence from tool 1. Minute 3, write 2 lines, my attunement signal will be, and the boundary I'll keep is. Minute 4, picture a warm kitchen lamp and let that light bathe the conversation coming up. Minute 5, allow a tiny smile, your nervous system signal that you are choosing not being swept away. Now text open the door or place the call. Simple ordinary because ordinary is what keeps relationships fed. What's your attunement signal tonight? You've arrived where the waves finally quiet the place where understanding has to become a way of living. This section is a practical bridge. We'll assemble the Jungian pieces we've opened, shadow the ambivalent, great mother anima, animus projection, and transference, attunement, in attention, intensity, in intimacy. The body and boundaries into a simple 7-day route, small enough that your nervous system can relearn the language of calm and your heart can relearn how to love with shores. When I say feminine, masculine, I mean 2 inner principles in every human being, not gender labels. Watch for an antiadromia. When we go too far to one side, the psyche snaps to the other. Too much unconditional giving flips into coldness. Too much structure flips into rebellion. Dose yourself with microbalance 1. No between 2 yeses, 1 breath between 2 stories, 1 slow date between 2 busy weekends. That's conscious compensation you lead instead of fate yanking the wheel. Numinous versus novelty, and the language of, and people often confuse the bright, strange dopamine hit of being noticed with the warm, deep quality of the numinous. The numinous doesn't glare. It opens. Use the 5-sign filter, breathe deeper or shallower body settling, or bracing time roomy, or rushed urge to broadcast, or to tend quietly kinder to the cashier or more irritable. If 4 out of 5, tilt warm, heavy, wide, quiet kind, that's likely numinous resonance. If bright, shallow, hurried, showy, edgy, that's novelty poking a complex. In conflict, try 2 sentences side by side. I want you to feel supported, and I also need to say this so we can be real with each other. And is the bridge in the language of marriage. Add 1 body cue, hand to sternum, slow exhale so logos doesn't turn into a hammer, and eros doesn't turn to syrup. An ethics of presence, don't use your field to bargain. If someone reveals tenderness, don't hoard their story as power, and don't wear their words as spiritual jewelry for the ego. 3 Temenos rules 1. No diagnosing, no possessing, no retelling, guard their story like a candle in the wind. These keep inner marriage from slipping into mana possession, the subtle power delusion Jung warned about. Which rule do you most need to practice this week? Community 1 kitchen, many lamps. If you want companions on this path, step into our warm kitchen. Comment the phrase 7 days, 1 lamp, and share which day you'll start or the boundary you'll practice this week. Speaking it out strengthens the cord between heart and hands. Speaking together brightens the room for all. Next episode, we'll return to Alex and Jamie now after 7 days to watch how the story bends. When both choose consciousness over reflex, do they stay and grow or part with kindness and gratitude? I'll also give you a 1-page printout with all questions, rituals, and sentence frames, a tiny sea chart for your fridge. If your heart is ready, come with me to the last stretch. Night is falling, and it's in the dark that stars appear most clearly. There, Eros and Logos stop competing and begin to dance, and you stand between them, the one who keeps the time. And if you're curious about the number teachers ahead, 7, 8, and 9 will invite depth, the forge, and the art of laying things down. We'll meet them soon experientially, not for blind belief, but for conscious experiment. It's time to touch the quiet destination of all we've been doing, the inner marriage. Jung names the path to wholeness, the union of opposites, softness with boundaries, intuition with action, care with decisiveness, depth with discipline. When those opposites stop pulling us apart and start holding hands, We don't need a manifesto anymore. Our way of living becomes the manifesto. And remember, feminine, masculine here are energies, eros connection, sensing nurture, and logos, clarity, structure, discernment. When eros and logos marry within the inner house is no longer empty. Day one, call your projections home. Tonight, dim the lights, hand on chest, breathe 4-4-6 for 3 rounds, write 3 unedited lines. I expect them to make me feel. The part of me I usually hide from myself is, tonight I can give myself 1% of that feeling. You're pulling content from water onto land, from mirage into language. Alex did this before texting Jamie and realized the real longing wasn't rapid-fire messages, but attunement to be listened to without a rush to fix. Alex stopped chasing lightning and began tending a lamplight. That's the first step of attunement. What projection wants to come home tonight? Day two, somatic reopen your window of calm. In a noisy city, our systems confuse quiet with emptiness. Practice 5 minutes of orienting at a window name 3. Still objects, hear 3 sounds, touch 3 surfaces, wood, fabric, ceramic. Breathe 4-4-6. Whisper, silence is safe. Jamie tried this after work before calling Alex. The call had more breathing room and less defensiveness. When the body stops fearing quiet, we stop needing fireworks to prove the relationship is alive. How does your body know safety today? Tightness or settling? Day 3, dialogue with the Great Mother, holding and limit. The Great Mother doesn't only swallow, she also warms. Try 7 minutes of active imagination. Picture a warm kitchen. She sits there, one hand with a bowl of soup, one hand with a small bell. What holding do I need for myself today? And what bell is enough for this relationship? Write her exact phrases, no edits, and tape them to your mirror. Alex received holding equals no multitasking when listening. Enough equals no text after 10 p.m. Spoken warmly to Jamie. Boundaries became a bridge, not a wall. Bring her out of shadow and love gains a shoreline. What's your soup today and what's your bell? Day 4, balance anima/animus. Let eros and logos dance, give eros a structure that feeds it instead of choking it a weekly. Queen calendar, 60 minutes for money work boundaries or a daily warrior minute, scan the day, and prioritize one act that nourishes intimacy. Tonight, a meal together, a slow walk. Warm up logos with a soft gesture, a touch. While speaking, or I'm listening before responding. Jamie Strong and Logos began summarizing Alex's feelings before offering input. Alex, Rich, and Eros scheduled a 45-minute no-screen block. When our inner feminine and masculine are welcomed, we stop demanding our partner carry what we've disowned. Which side in you needs a chair at the table tonight? Eros or Logos? Day 5, boundaries in action. Practice 4 boundary frames out loud with breath. And bridging, not erasing. Request plus time plus limit. Yes on the condition, no plus options. Use them in tiny places. Plans bedtime texting habits. The point isn't winning arguments. It's teaching your body that no is still safe. Jamie, I'm not going out tonight and I'll take you for coffee at 9 a.m. Alex, I want closeness and I need 30 minutes of quiet before we talk about work. 2 small sentences can save a long week. Which sentence do you need to rehearse 3 times in the mirror? Day 6, intensity intimacy. Try a slow date walk, 20 minutes, no music, no screens. Each asks one open question, e.g., what did you learn from yourself this week? Then sit with 2 minutes of silence before answering. Awkward is normal, that's the sprout of intimacy. If you get restless, hand on belly, 1 round of breath, meet their eyes. Your body can learn that stillness isn't abandonment, and a schedule isn't a cage. Alex and Jamie swapped a dream from the week. They didn't need a plot twist to feel alive, they needed meaning. What shifts in you when the fireworks stop and the lamplight stays? Day 7, repair and review, set 30 minutes, 15 minutes each. This week I felt attuned when you. What I need more of next week is. A boundary I struggled to keep was, if there's friction, use the 3-step repair. 1, name your feeling. I feel panicked. See them, I imagine you feel pressured. Offer a small next step. Can we pause 10 minutes and come back? Close with a tiny vow. I choose lamplight, 1 act of attunement, and 1 warm boundary. This is the self, the regulating center speaking. Not flashy, but durable. What will your vow line be for the next 7 days? Do you remember Alex and Jamie? In this part, we return to them, standing at the crossroads where most modern American relationships eventually arrive. Keep running on the reflexes of old patterns, or pivot toward consciousness. I want to show you two equally Jungian possibilities. One path where they stay and grow, and one path where they part with dignity. Either way, if guided by the self, the inner regulating center, each becomes a rite of maturity. Because life is noisy, Brooklyn, Day, Austin, Seattle here are three safety belts, so symbols keep working and don't melt into blind belief. Belt 1, a co-presence journal. Anytime an image linked to your number appears, circle bridge, forge river. Note the time context and body sensations. No inflation, no guessing, just acknowledgement. Belt 2, confirmation. Bias control log. The days you notice nothing. Absence may mean rest or that another symbol seeks your ear, a dream, a body symptom, a child's sentence. Belt 3, measure by action. If you're a 4, count the rules you relaxed. 5, the times you stayed the 90 seconds. 6, the warm nose. 8, true delegations. 9, small goodbyes. Soft measures guard the heart from illusion and from guilt. A 7-day anchoring rite, day 1. Choose your digit and write a 3-line pledge, not to be perfect, but to have a witness. What am I learning from this digit? What's my shadow called? What single action will I take in 24 hours? Day 2, 5 minutes of active imagination. Meet your numbers, image circle, headlight, bridge instrument, square room, revolving door, hearth, stone well, forge river, and ask 3 brief questions. Write the answers verbatim. Day 3, plant a micro-ritual, square breathing before decisions. The 90-second stay, cup check, 6, 7 to 7 to 7, body touch, 7, 3G audit, 8. Good grief. Dave, share one small piece of lived data privately with a trusted friend. Day 5, choose a contrary action. If your shadow is control, drop one item. If self-depletion, receive help. If performance, sit in silence before speaking. Day 6, 10 minutes device-free walk. Let the world send you a symbol. Day 7, close with 4 lines. The truest thing I touched was, a habit to lay to rest is, a boundary I will set is, one gesture I'll repeat next week is, you'll have completed a small round of individuation, not loud, but it has shape. 3 composite stories from hundreds of notes sent to this channel. A man in Denver, a 7 in finance, thought he needed a vacation. He actually needed a body to live in. 4 weeks of 7 to 7, 7, and good grief later, he slept through the night, cut caffeine, and wept in a meeting, not from failure, but because he saw a younger colleague becoming his former self. A woman in Portland, an 8, proud of carrying it all, started saying, 1, I'm struggling. A week opened to feedback without punishment. Dor got home before 7 p.m. And strangely, her team birthed an idea she'd never squeezed out by tightening grip. A teacher in Miami, A9, learned to release each emotional invoice she said no to, covering a shift on her needed rest day, and deputized students for parts of class. The result wasn't chaos, but the return of her gentle presence. These aren't scripts to copy. They're proof that symbols work when lived through body calendar in one small act. Morning before your phone wakes, brew coffee and open a 1-page kitchen journal to write 3 lines. Today will be loyal to the self by Baum. The boundary I need is, one kind gesture I'll offer is, loyalty might mean declining a pointless meeting. The boundary could be muting Slack for 30 minutes. The kindness might be asking the barista, how's your day? No sermons, just small consistency. At work practice, repair after rupture, every Temenos tears, sometimes a hasty email, a curt line, a cold glance. Don't write a story about not belonging. Take a grown step and send a short note that holds logos and arrows. I replied too fast and may have irritated you. I meant X, not Y. I'd like to repair this so we can move forward. Midday walk, 7 minutes without headphones, a mobile Temenos. In that contentless space, the unconscious gets a mouth, a bridge flashes up from sincerity to assertiveness. Tonight, honor it with 2 sentences and a hard talk. I want you to feel supported, and I need to say this so we can stay real with each other. Late night draw, Sunday mandala, left half done right, not to brag, right half to repair, not to punish. In the center, a small dot, the self no larger, no smaller. Sign a 30-day promise, 1 logos act, eros act, 1 act for the body per day. Don't judge bad days, return the next day. If an aura appears at all, it's a byproduct, not the goal. Service matters too often, the missing piece in the myth of rare energy. When the self steadies, you naturally give back by doing the task in front of you. Well, write the kind email mentor, the intern take out a neighbor's trash, join a support circle for the newly awakening. Service doesn't make you sacred, it makes you belong, and that belonging heals the old ache of not belonging to the crowd. You need fewer proofs. You start building a small temple out of actions. How do I measure progress without turning soul work into KPIs? Use 5 living signs, softer with small faults, clearer boundaries without it, edge, less need to explain yourself, time widening in crucial moments, faster repairs after harm. If 3 of 5 are yes, across 4 weeks, you're on the path. If not, shrink the step and return to the small thing. The road doesn't reward speed, it rewards faithful return. For the healthy skeptic, skepticism is a friend of the soul. Am I just assigning meaning to a random digit? The Jungian answer may be. But if that meaning helps you live more honestly, love with better boundaries and work with breath, perhaps that's how the unconscious delivered a useful symbol at the right day and hour. If not, if you meet only silence, honor the silence. The next symbol may come via a dream, a child's drawing, an old backache, or sudden highway rain. We don't force the gods to speak, we learn to listen. A week after their 7-day practice, the kitchen light in Alex and Jamie's home no longer feels rushed. Alex has stopped firing off firework texts and instead opens doors with lines like, "Tonight I want to sync on one thing." Jamie hides less in silence and practices summarizing feelings before offering feedback. They're not perfect, no one needs to be, but the road is different. On Saturday night, Alex dreams a dark ocean, a stone bridge, and at the end of the bridge, a crown resting on wet rock. No more devouring darkness like the old panic, just depth and an invitation. Over coffee, Alex shares the dream. Jamie listens like someone hearing a strange yet familiar song and says, "I don't want to be the storm or the sun. I want to be the lighthouse keeper." If you listen closely, you can hear it animus, less rigid, anima, less hurried, logos and eros beginning to dance. Now that the compass sits quietly in your hand, the finale begins, a 60-second morning rite tuned to your number one core question to check if you're living from center, and one gentle reminder not to leave yourself behind on the way. If your heart just softened and your hand wants to make one small move tonight, we're headed the right way. Inhale once, exhale once. Hand to chest, I allow the symbol to work through me. See you in the closing, and where every number rests and a life begins to take shape. Read Jung's symbols and the dream speaks plainly. The ocean is the unconscious. The bridge, a channel between depths and awareness. The crown, the self, inner authority, not power over the other. When the self flickers into view, archetypes integrate rather than dominate. The Great Mother ceases to be a tomb and returns as a womb holding and boundarying in one gesture. Alex sees the crown isn't a charm to make Jamie stay. It's a vow to self-keep the lamp attunement and keep the shore boundaries. Jamie understands lighthouse keeping isn't martyrdom. It's presence available, friendly, not fixing when not invited. They try a small ritual before each date, each names one wish and one limit. Simple lines like, "Today, I want to hear your dream and I need 45 minutes with no screens." Such sentences keep the kitchen warm and the roof from collapsing. But life isn't all moonlit nights. The next week, Jamie is slammed by a deadline and forgets to text an ETA. The old riptide grabs Alex. This is an antiodromia, the swing to the opposite pole. Left alone, the nervous system snaps back into old choreography. One pursues, one retreats. This time, Alex opens the notebook and reads 3 lines from Active Imagination. Embrace equals presence while listening. Enough equals no text after 10 p.m. Gate sentence equal, we're talking to the present, not to memory. 3 slow breaths, 4, 4, 6, and a warm call. When you go quiet, the old part of me thinks I'm left behind, and I know today was heavy for you. Can we sync for 15 minutes tonight? Half eros, half logos. The conversation sails out of the storm and docks in safety. Jamie comes home, puts the phone down, pours 2 cups of tea. No fireworks, just the kitchen light. Alongside the path of staying, sometimes the self invites us to part with dignity. A few weeks later, they look at calendars and at their breath. Love doesn't always share the same timeline. Jamie wants a year of flight for a big project. Alex wants to root. They don't save each other from the horizon calling the other's name. They don't force a candle into fireworks or fireworks into a candle. They choose a conscious goodbye, a ritual Jung would call respect for each person's orbit of the self. The rite is simple. Each writes a letter of gratitude I learned from you that, and a wise blessing. May your lamp burn where. They take a walk, no music, no blame, and each sets the crown back on their own head. That's not failure, it's honesty about what's alive. Sometimes staying grows love. Sometimes leaving heals it. The measure is the self, not fear or habit. Two more pieces we touched briefly in part one now come to the front, compensation and mandala. Allah. Compensation, the psyche's balancing reflex, pulls towards stillness when you over-pursue intensity and toward aliveness when you overlive by rules. Instead of forcing a big rebound offer, microdoses daily, 1 minute of quiet between calls, a small no between two yeses, a slow meal in a stormy week. The mandala, the centered circle, remains Jung's image for the self. Try drawing one weekly quartered into Eros connection logos direction. Soma body mythos, meaning, note one small action you did for each. The drawing doesn't need to be pretty, it needs to be true. When the circle holds your ink, you're seeing the self, not merely hearing about it. Important clarity, this whole map doesn't label a gender or promote stereotypes. Feminine and masculine are inner musical lines in everyone. A man can be swallowed by the hunger for attention. A woman can be a steadfast lighthouse keeper. We're not hunting culprits, we're recognizing patterns so we can integrate them. And if your story includes violence, control, or humiliation, that's not a boundary exercise. That's a reason to leave safely and seek professional help. Mature love always includes respect. A gift for you tonight, a community practice. Post a comment in 2 parts of button 1, meaning one thing you learned about yourself from this series. G. I mistake intensity for intimacy when I'm tired. 2. Lamp one small action you'll take within 48 hours. E.g., I'll try the 5-minute oil lamp before a call. Start your comment with mandala song so we can find each other. When you share, you don't just anchor your learning, you light the way for whoever comes after you. Before we close part 5, keep this soft checklist for moments when your heart is confused. Am I speaking to this person or to my memory? Am I demanding lightning or am I choosing the oil lamp? Right now, does the great mother in me need to embrace or to ring the enough bell? What are my anima animus asking, more softness or more structure? If I listen to the self, what is the smallest next right step? The answers don't need to be grand, they need to be honest. Wherever honesty is, the self is. Automastitis. Wherever the self is, there is a path, and whether you stay or leave it leads you home. Dear friend, if you've come this far, maybe you can feel a slower inner rhythm. Unlike the rush outside, we've touched the deep currents. Persona and shadow, the great mother who both nurtures and rings the enough bell, the anima/animus bridge between eros and logos. The waves of projection and compensation, the fireworks of intensity in the lamp of intimacy. When these pieces settle like a mosaic, what appears isn't a verdict on anyone, it's a map home. Jung would say the soul doesn't demand perfection, it asks for honesty. Maybe today, for the first time in years, you are honest with yourself. All day, use one compass question. Will what I'm about to do bring me closer to center? If yes, even slightly go. If no, pause half a beat, breathe, 4, 4, 6, choose again. The inner road isn't a straight highway, it's a footpath cleared by humble gestures. What might one half beat save you from today? To anchor this video in your life, keep 4 soft anchors. Image, a sign for your number, a circle, a bridge, a square room, a forge. Keep it near phone wallpaper, a small card, a sketch. Word, 1 for light and 1 for shadow, enough to self-remind gently. Gesture, a 60-second ritual, like above, so meaning has a body. Witness one person or a small group so you are seen while changing. Which anchor will you keep close this week? Connection time. Drop a short comment for me and for those reading below. What's your 30-day promise? One logos, one eros, one for the body. Which pair of opposites will you bring to the table this week? Candor and gentleness, speed and depth, freedom and commitment. If it feels safe, name a symbol that visited you: a bridge, a lantern, a door, and the small act by which you will honor it. Reply to each other by witnessing, not diagnosing. Add a vantage point, don't fix one another. As more of us practice gentle truth, the collective unconscious learns a new language, where boundaries are a form of love and depth feels normal. What symbol came to visit you? If you want to go farther, gather 2-4 people for a mini circle, a weekly shared ritual, 446-7773G, good grief, a quick hour to report real-life data and a thread-thin commitment that keeps us from slipping behind ourselves. To the healthy skeptics, I honor you. Keep skepticism beside you like a small flashlight. If one day it all feels like meaningless coincidence, let that stand next to your experience. Jung doesn't ask for belief, he invites observation. If observation helps you live 1% truer love, 1% wider work, with 1% more breath, maybe that's enough for today. What would your mini circle practice be? Here's a simple community template: short, clear, honest, I'm number X; light, I'm tending; shadow, I'm training; small step in the next 24 hours. If you meet someone with your number, reply with recognition and a time-bound check-in. See you here Friday for an update. No diagnosing, no preaching, just witnessing and keeping time for one another. What will your check-in day be? I love closing with an ordinary picture: a late-night American kitchen sink, clean kettle, murmuring warm light, pooling on wood. No fireworks, just a quiet lamp. Here you don't have to perform, win, or be called rare. You wash a cup, fold a towel, write 3 lines, and know you've stayed faithful a little more. That's how the self remains. That's how climates change. Tomorrow when you enter a room, conference, classroom, corner store, the air shifts a beat and no one knows why. Some call it aura. I call it living truth. What 3 lines will you write tonight? One more image for the road you're driving: a night highway, dark on both sides, a breathing city ahead. The stars stand still, but the road beneath you moves. So does your life. Symbols hold still. So you have a point of reference. You move so your life can take shape. Each time you pause, half a beat, touch your chest, and choose one small step from center, a new star lights up on your private map. Which star did you light today? If this video met you right on time, leave a comment using the template above. I read every line. Often your words are a lifeline for someone in a very dark day. If you'd like to keep going, subscribe and ring the bell so we can meet each week, each time. Another gateway of Jungian psychology translated into livable gestures, active imagination, synchronicity in daily decisions, shadow work that keeps your numbers light from being swallowed by the shadow. And if someone came to mind, a person always bracing to be strong, or one who goes quiet in a room, send this to them like a gentle hand on the shoulder. Who needs that touch tonight? And a parting benediction: you were not born to play a side role in someone else's story. You were born to keep the lamp in your own house. Each deep breath, each warm no, each minute of facing the dark without turning away is a step home. When you come home, what needs to stay will stay. What needs to leave will leave without a storm. In that house, Eros and Logos no longer fight for the throne. They sit side by side, pour tea, and speak like old friends. Between them, the self smiles. See you next week by the lamp. Hold 2 images: the ocean and the bridge. The ocean is the unconscious, not a devouring abyss, but a nutrient-rich depth. The bridge is conscious choice: every 4-4-6 breath, every warm boundary, every oil lamp minute before a hard conversation lays another stone across. The crown at the far side isn't for anyone else. It's a vow you place upon your own head to tend both your needs and your limits as 2 halves of the same love. When the self, the inner regulator, takes its seat, the forces in you stop wrestling. Eros and Logos begin to dance. What stone will you lay today? You don't have to kill the hunger. Hunger is a bell. Some part of you longs to be seen, attuned to respected. Exiled to shadow, it grabs cheap fireworks. Invited into a warm kitchen, it becomes discernment, helping you tell real food from flavoring. Don't shoot the messenger. Learn to listen, ask better questions, and cook so everyone gets fed. Then the great mother in you stops being a tomb and becomes a womb again. What is your hunger actually asking for? You might ask, what if the other person won't walk this path with me? Sometimes, like Alex and Jamie, two life timelines don't meet. With the self guiding you, staying or leaving both retain dignity. Staying means one small step toward the lamp each day. Leaving means a ritual of thanks so you don't turn each other into enemies. Above all, you stop handing your life to someone else's fireworks. You become the keeper of the lamp in your own home, and if you both choose each other, that home simply adds another timekeeper. What would dignity look like in your next decision, staying or going? A gentle reminder from the start when we speak of feminine masculine, the devouring mother hunger, or the boom and distance cycle, we are naming universal psychological principles in all people. No gender is being labeled. Anyone can get lost in intensity, avoid quiet fear closeness, or chase novelty. Anyone can learn to breathe slower, set a warm boundary, choose an unhurried date, or write a page to call projections back. If your story includes violence, humiliation, or control, this isn't a boundary exercise. It's a call to leave safely and get professional support. Mature love always walks with respect. Which principle do you need to practice gently this week? Before we close, a simple evening ritual like turning on a kitchen lamp. Sit tall, soften your shoulders. Inhale. 4. Hold. 2. Exhale. 6. Rest a hand on your sternum and whisper, I choose to live honestly, not perfectly. Then open your notebook, one page only, and write 3 lines. How was I faithful to myself today? What boundary do I need? What small kindness will I offer? Each weekend, draw a small round mandala. Don't make it pretty. Only notice how light and shadow have shifted. Then make a 30-day promise each day. 1 logos act, clarity. 1 eros act, nourishment. And 1 for the body, walk, sleep, water. Which 3 lines will you write tonight? You don't need a grader. Life will answer with 5 soft markers. You're gentler with small mistakes. Your boundaries get clearer without sharp edges. You explain yourself. Less time feels wider at the moments that matter, and you repair more quickly after a misstep. If 3 of the 5 nod yes, you're on rhythm. Which marker is already shifting for you? A small safety card for the inside of your cupboard. Don't confuse sensitivity with post-trauma hypervigilance. If your body goes cold rigid, prickly, your nervous system is sounding the alarm. Choose safety first: water, sunlight, phone a friend, and when needed, a professional. Nothing here replaces therapy. These practices walk beside you as you move with the unconscious in order. Also, don't mistake the numinous for dopamine novelty. The numinous is warm, open, unhurried. It leaves you kinder to the cashier afterward, not itchy to show off online. And beware the mana trap, the subtle illusion of special power. When people wobble around, you don't crown yourself different. Keep a humble discipline, scrub the dishes well, write 3 honest lines, check on someone with real presence. Light needs no backdrop. It needs a trustworthy doorkeeper. What's your first safety move when the spike comes? If there's one message to carry, let it be simple. You don't have to become the 1%. Be 1% more faithful each day to what's true. Stack enough small percents and the inner climate changes. Without many words, others feel a warmer field where they too feel safe to be honest. That's lasting influence, not persuading anyone, but tending a space where living truth can breathe. What is today's 1%?